It's time to get up, get out, do something. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Be a part of the show. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning and welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. I am Phil Brilliant, pinch hitting for Jeremy this morning, Thursday, September 1st. It is 7:08 in the morning. I believe it's still raining outside off and on. It'll be high of 75 degrees today as we get ready for Labor Day weekend, which may be a washout, but we'll know more as this tropical storm makes its way off the coast. I am very excited and happy this morning to be joined by Lee Rubin, friend, author, motivational speaker, a Manalapan high school superstar who went on to Penn State to be captain of the Penn State football team under Coach Joe Paterno. In itself, that could motivate anybody. So good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Good. Doing good this morning.
Good.
Thank you for joining me at this early hour in the morning. But I know from watching you on Facebook, you would probably be on a flight somewhere across the country to motivate our youth.
Yeah, it's been a busy couple months, and I'm excited to be here. Very excited.
So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, how you ended up as a motivational speaker.
Sure. As you mentioned, was very fortunate to be the captain of the Penn State football team. Did not play professionally. I did what most student athletes do. I took my talents to corporate America. Worked for some great organizations, Merrill Lynch, Johnson & Johnson, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Did the corporate thing for about 15 years, and throughout that time, I would be asked periodically to speak at different events, and loved it. So gradually made the transition from the corporate thing to the entrepreneurial thing as an author and speaker.
Yeah, and again, I first met you at the Lakewood Blue Claws
Yes.
event last year.
Yeah, the networking event with Freehold Networks for Success. Yes,
Yep, where you basically motivated everybody out of their seats. And but the first thing I noticed was the fact that aside from the fact that you could speak and you were going to really energize the room, was that even though at times you were talking a little football, it was topics and theory that is part of everyday life.
Sure, absolutely. Because of my corporate background, I understand what organizations need. And I've got the ability to take what I've learned from the athletic experience, from competitive sports, into, and bring those theories, those philosophies into the corporate organizations as well as the sports teams with some really practical application. I think that's what makes a good speaker, right? Not just great stories, not just great theory, but can we synthesize that into, okay, how is this going to help us?
Right.
So that's my background really kind of pushes me in that direction.
And of course, I remember sitting there that day, and you said you were a free safety, I believe.
Yes.
On the Penn State team, and I was looking at you up there. I'm like, wow, that must have been a few years ago. And of course, you started talking, so I'm Googling and I'm looking at the video of interceptions and run backs. I'm like, this guy had game. Yeah, well, not that you don't have game now.
No, I don't. I don't. No, the game is gone. But I had a great career. Was a gifted but smart athlete. Wasn't the biggest, fastest, nor strongest, which actually comes out in my talks. How do we achieve at a very high level if not blessed or gifted with what our competition may be gifted with? So there's ways to win, especially in the team environment.
So I talk a lot about, and I'm now an empty nester. My daughter has left for college,
yes,
so I cry every night.
I saw that.
I'm not going clothes shopping for high school this year, and thinking about it. But so you're talking to these high school players.
Yes,
you're talking to these college players. We know times have changed.
Absolutely.
What they have with internet, social media, and when you're talking to them, how is their response? How are they getting engaged in what you're telling them? Because we did live in a different world.
Sure. I think the first thing is to establish that credibility, because it has been a few years since I played. So I'll tell them my background. In some cases, I may even show them the highlight video so they can see.
Has anybody said to you yet, Joe Paterno who?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Just making sure.
So there's instant credibility because of my background and the credibility of the program. So establishing that credibility first, but then I think the key message to start, and I try to hit them pretty hard, is there's got to be some personal, individual sacrifice as being a part of a team sport. There's something you've got to give up personally for the benefit of the team.
And that's across the board.
That's across the board. That's corporate, that's a family, that's a sports team. Let me back up. So I start here. Teams exist because there's a challenge or an opportunity too big for one person to handle alone. See, if you can handle it by yourself, you wouldn't need a team.
That's right.
So the need for each other, the need for the teammates demands that you make a personal or individual sacrifice for the sake of the team. And we've got to start there. And I tell them, if you're not going to be a team player, go play tennis. And you can't even play doubles, right?
Right.
It's because it's all about you. So we hit them pretty hard. You got to start by being a person who's willing to make a sacrifice.
Right. And that was one of the reasons I brought you in last year to talk to my team at Brilliant Environmental Services, because I think it's important, you use that word sacrifice. And we are going to talk at the next segment about the 5 C's.
Okay.
We're still throwing that teaser out there.
Yeah.
Okay. But sacrifice is part of any team.
Absolutely.
And you said family, work, corporate America, teamwork, whatever
community,
it might be.
A faith organization. It doesn't matter. You individually, you've got to give something up for the benefit of the team.
Now, when you're talking to the students, talking to the players, and I've seen, we were just talking, you were down in Florida.
Yep.
And some great teams that you have talked to. When you say sacrifice to them, is it clicking?
It does. It does. I think the examples that I use and the stories that I use, and again, my own personal experience, they get it. And the beauty of talking to athletic teams in particular is they want to win. They want to hear what it takes to win. So it's not always some mandatory meeting and I've got to be here and who is this guy up in front of me. It's I want to win, and is there something I can pick from this guy's brain that can help us be successful?
And you just hit a key as to why I think what you tell people and how you motivate people is important for corporate America, because there's a lot of people who collect paychecks.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. They're going in, they're collecting their paycheck, they're doing their 40 hours, 35 hours, and walking away.
Absolutely.
Okay. They're not seeing the sacrifice. Okay. They're not seeing the teamwork.
Exactly.
And so when you get out there, I listened to you talk that day to my company, and it resonated through and through.
Yeah.
That basically you have to take ownership of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Because you have to win in corporate America, just like you have to win on the football field.
Exactly. There's the individuals who collect the paycheck, but then there's also the individuals who consider themselves on the fast track, who also only think about themselves. And at both of them, of those extremes, there's got to be some level of sacrifice. It's not just about you. You can't just mark your territory and leave me alone. That's not in my job description. Nor can you be, it's all about me and I don't care who I run over to get to where I want to go. Both of those individuals and everyone in between have to make a sacrifice.
You mean the recent college graduate who wants a corner office? He hasn't deserved to be president of the company?
Exactly. Hasn't worked one day and he's already negotiating the corner office. You're exactly right. And worse than that, and maybe we'll talk about this whole entitlement thing later, is we'll have mommy call to help them negotiate the benefits package.
I like that.
That's crazy.
That's pretty good. I actually haven't had that one yet, but I'm sure someday that one will creep. That one will creep up with me.
Keep being the boss.
I know. Those days of being the boss, they're always fun. So about being the boss, corporate America, you're working for like Fortune 100 companies.
Yep.
You walk away and you start a small business.
I do. It's as we'll talk about with the 5 C's, it's about passion. I'm fortunate that at a fairly young age, I identified and recognized what I love to do.
I think we're close to the same age, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. 45 is the new 20, right?
Yep.
I love what I do. I can make an impact with what I do and actually get paid to do it. And that beats punching a clock just for a paycheck any day.
Right. That is, and again, I think, what I see you doing is make a difference in our kids' lives as well as our lives, just by trying to get we say here, get up, get out, and do something.
Absolutely.
And that's really what you say every day. Yeah. So we're going to go to our first break, but as we go to our break, we're going to throw out there that we are going to talk about the 5 C's when we come back.
5 C's.
Okay, and this is what everybody's been waiting for all morning. I do have in front of me here the Lee Rubin book, Win.
Yes.
Simple Insights to Help You Win the Game of Life.
It's a great Photoshop job on that book cover,
I'm
right?
telling you, man, this and the website, you look just like you do in front of me today. Remember, join the conversation, 732-505-1160. Back in a moment.
Rush Limbaugh today at noon. More Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin coming up next. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Good morning. Welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. It is 7:22, and we are here talking to Lee Rubin, author and motivational speaker. And I have been teasing for over 24 hours about the 5 C's of life.
Yes.
And so we are going to throw them out now. And I say, this is really, when you rolled this out to my company and you started explaining them, it was really a changing moment. Now, I will tell you, though, that we are only on till 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So we have to give the executive summary version.
Very good.
But let us roll.
So there's 5 components of extraordinary teams, and they all kind of build off of each other. Here's the first one. Extraordinary teams are comprised of competitors. Individuals who have a passion for what they do. They love to win and they hate to lose. And the reason for that is if you don't care whether or not you lose, nothing you do matters. Like you won't take the necessary action, you won't get better. So there's got to be a passion. That's the foundational component. The second component is what we talked about earlier, is having a common goal. And the only way to get to a common goal is the individuals on the team have to make a sacrifice. There's only one way to get to a shared goal. There's something you and I individually have to get up to achieve a common goal. And that might be the toughest part.
Right.
The third piece is extraordinary teams communicate. And the whole idea behind the communication piece is not just getting to know each other on a superficial level. It's getting to know each other well enough that we trust each other. I often reference a book when I'm talking about this idea, The Speed of Trust. That businesses slow down, that businesses are less profitable, that teams don't function at full potential, not because there might not be the talent there, but there might not be the trust. If we don't trust each other, neither one of us are going at 100%.
It's true.
I'm not giving everything to a team or a group or a mission if I don't trust the people around me. So that's critical.
Yep.
I think it's something that most organizations miss. The fourth component is great teams have great chemistry. It's not about the individual elements. It's about how well they bond. Now, the funny part about the bonding is most bonds are formed under heat and pressure. The whole idea of adversity is how do we function as a group when faced with adversity? Do we come together? Do we bond, or do we fall apart? Do we start pointing fingers? Do we have conversations at the water cooler? Are we complainers? Or do we leverage the adversity to actually bring us together and make us stronger?
Seems like we have to get you into politics maybe too.
No.
You need to work on some chemistry
No,
there.
no.
There's a lot of heat going on, but they're not bonding.
Well, here's the deal: is there's not a lot of sacrifice going on either.
Bingo.
Most people are looking out for themselves.
You're right.
As opposed to understanding we're part of a greater society, and what may be best for me might not be best for the next person, and I'm not willing to sacrifice what I want. It's the same stuff.
You're right.
And then the final component, the fifth C, is being consistent. And I leverage one of my favorite quotes of all times by Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, it's a habit. And so using our training, using our practice, if we're an athletic team, to actually focus enough on excellence so that we're actually building a machine-like consistency. Here's what I've learned. People will buy from you because you're good. People will remain clients because you're consistent.
Right. It's absolutely right.
You got to be consistent.
And it's interesting listening to the 5 C's in a different forum here, because I listened to it with my company last time. So I'm thinking my brainwaves are a little different today. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about the fact of family.
Yep.
On how the 5 C's in family. Consistency, communication, parents, as they parent their children, and then straight through the corporate as in the teams. I mean, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's the beauty of my talk is the components don't change.
Right.
How they're applied to different organizations. So within the last 2 weeks, I've spoken to Division I championship level college sports. I've spoken to salespeople at one of the top insurance companies in the world. I've spoken to 10-year-olds at a Little League football team, and it's the same message. It's the same message. You've got to be a competitor. You've got to make sacrifices. You've got to build trust. You've got to handle heat and pressure, and you've got to be consistent. Yeah. That's any organization.
And as a team, you have to have a common goal to win.
Absolutely.
No matter what it is, your common goal has got to be, one focus, one team.
Yeah. It's funny. I share this, and sometimes I get eyebrows raised.
Okay, we're going to raise our eyebrows after the news break.
Okay.
As we start going, one of the disadvantages are we go to news and commercial breaks because we got to pay for this show. Remember, join the conversation. Call up Lee, ask him a question, 732-505-1160. We'll be back after the news.
Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Good morning. Welcome back to Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. It is Thursday, September 1st. It is 7:37. Wow, this morning has flown by.
Wow.
As we sit here talking to Lee Rubin, author and motivational speaker. We just ran through the 5 C's, and we were talking a little bit as we went to break about empowerment.
Yes. Well, entitlement. Entitlement. A lot of my talks, athletes get it. They've got to work and earn their spot and earn success. It's interesting with some of my corporate talks, the thought of entitlement comes up. And it's funny, most people think entitlement just deals with young people, and that's not the case at all. There's some people who just feel, I've graduated from this school, I've got this degree, I am entitled, I should have this. And, I trace that back to one of the C's, the competing piece. And I try to remind people that we're in constant competition. I know our youth programs hand out participation awards just for being a part, but the reality is we're going to be competing for the rest of our lives. We compete to get into colleges. We compete for jobs. We even compete for significant others. And I joke, hopefully you want someone that at least one other person on the planet might also want. So you're going to be competing.
Right. And being single, right now, I see that. If you go to any of the internet sites, you're competing against the world. That's why I like to keep it local.
Exactly. Reduce your candidate
Reduce my
pool,
candidate. Yes.
And competitors.
Yes,
I get it.
Yeah.
But we've got to learn that and understand that we've got to compete. We've got to identify what makes us different. We've got to identify what makes us valuable. And we've got to compete. That's just the reality of the life we live.
And not every team has a Rudy.
I don't talk about Rudy.
You don't talk about Notre Dame?
That's a Notre Dame thing. I don't even know who Rudy is.
There you go. But it's really that kid who is the underachiever.
Absolutely.
Who makes himself the overachiever.
Absolutely.
But I could see with you up there speaking to these teams that those are the kids you probably reach the most.
Yeah, Phil, it's and the power of my talk is it focuses on the team.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got to bring some individual skills to the table, but when a team functions well, you've heard it before that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yep.
That together you and I can do more than any of us individually could do ourselves. And so we can accomplish more, we can get more done if we abide by these team principles, these values. There's so much more that we could do together.
So as a team and accomplishing more, that kind of gives us a great lead in to, I am going to give you this morning the Jeremy Grunin Magic Wand, which has unlimited resources. We're going to sprinkle some fairy dust in the room, and you can change the world, change the sector, change one person's life or everybody's life. What would you do with that magic wand?
You know, the first,
because you do this every day anyway.
Yeah. So there's two things I would do. There's two waves of the wand, and the first wave is to have everyone who's listening ask themselves a question: is my team functioning at full capacity? Is my team functioning at full capacity? Of the components of the C's that I shared, do we exhibit those? Do we demonstrate those on a daily basis? If not, it may be time to bring in a speaker or read some books about what it takes to actually function at a higher level. So I would ask people the question: hey, is my team, and that's my family, my business, my local softball team or bowling team, are we functioning at the highest level? Are we maximizing what we can produce as a team? So that would be the first thing. And then the second thing is a bit more philosophical. As we approach another election and deal with each other, it would be another question: am I making the necessary sacrifices for the sake of the greater good? Right? For whatever team that is, whether it's, again, my family, my business, my community, my country, am I willing to make individual sacrifices for the benefit of the entire team?
Yeah. And again, I believe in this year more than ever, there's a lot of sacrifices to be made.
Absolutely.
So how do people find you? How do they get in touch with Lee Rubin?
Sure. I've got a website. I'm pretty excited about my new website. Had a wonderful gentleman help design this. It's LeeRubinSpeaks.com. And that's Lee, L-E-E, Rubin, R-U-B-I-N, Speaks with an S. So LeeRubinSpeaks.com. And then I'm on most of the social media sites. I'm on Facebook as Lee Rubin. There's also a Lee Rubin Speaks business page. And then I'm on both Twitter and Instagram as LRubin39, LRubin39.
His number from Penn State football.
Yeah. And then I have a LinkedIn page as well, Lee Rubin, Lee Rubin, R-U-B-I-N.
As a personal believer, because I have seen you speak on 2 occasions now. I have the book in front of me, Win.
Sure.
And you can get the book from Lee. You can hand it out to your teams. You can have Lee speak to your organization, your football teams, basketball teams, or just a group of little leaguers.
Absolutely.
And
I'm right here. I'm here in the Monmouth, Ocean County area. I will travel. I've traveled all over the country. In fact, just got an invitation to go to Poland and speak. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
We'll have to bring it back and talk some Polish when you get back.
There we go, some pierogies, man.
Yeah, but Lee, I do appreciate you joining me this morning. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
And we will be back in a moment.